She takes this cloth and she blows on it to get higher levels of carbon dioxide on the cloth, and then she attaches it to a cable. This is actually a plumber snake with an alligator clip on the end. And then she sticks it down in here and she waits, and then she pulls it out. And if she's lucky, she gets a flea. And that's because when the prairie dogs die, the fleas jump off of their bodies and move up towards the entrance to these burrows, hoping to get in, of course, find another host. I mean, the prairie dog's body is cold, they need to find somebody else. And so there's a reasonable chance then that this flea has Yersinia pestis, and it can jump over here and bite her. But that's never happened in our experience, but that's why we pick naive graduate students. And when they get to be older, then they go out and recruit them. No, I'm just joking. We're worried about their health, and in fact, the risk is much lower than you might expect. So we take that flea back and we can smash it up, extract DNA. These days, we can actually go in and do whole genome sequencing, even on the minor fraction inside that flea, but we can do the genetic markers to try to understand and identify mutations. We recruited a vertebrate biologist who had been studying these prairie dog populations when they began to die, and so he went out and he mapped all of the prairie dog populations, found where there was plague, found where there was die-offs, where there were active ones. So very much a scattered population structure around it. I'm going to focus in upon one little outbreak that we had right here. This is an aerial photograph. You can see the forested areas and then the open grasslands here. Prairie dogs, as their name implies, live in this area right here. And so these are all the sample points that Jessica was able to collect. The places where she had positive plague ones, the red ones where she had fleas, blue ones would be where she sampled and she didn't get any fleas. And so you can see then that we have a pretty good spread across this whole area. I'm going to focus in on this area right here so that we think that in 2000 the year 2000, in fact, the plague was residing over here in a reservoir, and then it hopped over into this area and it began to spread in a directional fashion here. It took another year before it jumped across this line, I guess you could call this the Wallace line, and then spread across the rest of this area, killing all the prairie dogs. And so within 2 or 3 years, every single prairie dog, and there must have been a couple of thousand in this area, were dead, totally wiped out. And when we got to the site, there were still a few prairie dogs here. They were all dead here. There was a very healthy population of prairie dogs over here, but we knew their time was limited, and sure enough, they were dead within 6 weeks of when we arrived at the site. So we have this kind of directionality to the outbreak as well as a little bit of real-time data. But of course, what we want to do is, again, go back and look at the phylogenetics. And so after we analyzed the genomes of all these, we came up with this